slippery in spots, so by all means be careful. Amounts of precip, say toward Watertown and Rochester too, might pick up a little more. Some spots in parts of northern parts of New York, around western New York too, maybe in the 3 to 6 inch range, but some snow on tap for Buffalo, a little bit in toward Erie, PA as well. Southern U.S. between now and mid-morning, again some rain, fairly light, but Dallas, Little Rock, around West Tennessee toward Jackson, Memphis, parts of western Kentucky, south central Kentucky too, like Bowling Green, even around the lakes could get some showers, some in toward Nashville. Around Shreveport, Louisiana could get dampened a little too. Beyond that time though, midday and beyond, front on the move and some storms too. In toward Michigan, maybe 3 to 6 inches northern lower Michigan, a little more across the UP in spots. Look for some of the slippery weather to kind of kick up during the day. The amounts aren't really depicted here because the amount of rain won't be a lot. We're talking mostly drizzle. Could still see a few scattered sprinkles here and there, and that will be the main concern with that. And toward the western U.S., we talked about our rough weather into parts of Colorado, but we could pick up some skiable snow into parts of Utah, bits of Wyoming, also into Idaho. 3 to 6 inches. I believe in northern Sierra could pick it up. Also might see the heaviest rain. Not so much in San Francisco proper. You get north, even like Point Reyes, those areas might pick up a little more in the way of some showers for this region. Some toward Arcata, Redding, even toward Red Bluff could get dampened just a wee bit more. As far as the wind goes, parts of Michigan, like even toward Detroit, into the thumb too, and parts of northern Wisconsin, bits of the UP, also bits of West Virginia. Parts of upstate New York, too, could get breezy. On the Gulf Coast, expect to see the fog, and there's the foggy concerns we talked about. Kansas, across parts of Colorado, and also into a little bit of Wyoming. Just use those low-beam headlights to reach your destination safely. That's the way to get there. High pressure kind of provides that cold air, kind of providing the punch behind this front. Showers along it, a little in the way of some lake effect areas, still getting some snowfall for the morning hours. Rain continues for the southeast. Across the west, we've got our rain toward about Santa Barbara, toward San Francisco, Monterey too, Northern California getting dampened. Even some rainfall continues toward Seattle and also in toward Portland. Here's a look at the precipitation amounts, and here's a look at the warmth where we find it for our day on Wednesday. Coming up, we'll look at the impact of all this on our week with a weekly planner. Next, please stay tuned.
Life insurance? Is your coverage too low? Are your rates too high? Call willprice.com today and talk with one of our friendly specialists. A male can get $100,000 of coverage for as little as 32 cents a day. A female for as little as 29 cents a day. And these rates are guaranteed not to increase for 10 years or longer. Pick up the phone and call willprice.com right now or visit our website at www.willprice.com.
You guys almost broke up at one point at the beginning of the summer, did you not?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. See, the devil card, the first card, that's a lot of arguing and power struggle. The 10 of Wands right after it, the 9 of Wands right after it. Nothing but struggle.
Yep.
You all go back and forth, back and forth. What does that make you think that this is the one you are going to spend the whole of your life with?
Right.
Learn the truth about your life with a free tarot card reading.
1-800-435-9643.
Are you one of the millions of American males who would like increased sexual energy? If you've been considering Viagra as a solution, consider something different. All-natural Enerx. Clinical studies show various ingredients of Enerx enhance sexual energy, increasing desire, performance, and satisfaction. Enerx is all natural with no side effects. With Enerx, you'll feel the increased energy within minutes and with no chemicals. We're so sure you and your mate will be completely satisfied. We'll offer you a 30-day, no questions asked, full refund. Enerx stimulates sexual energy by expanding the blood vessels, causing increased blood flow to specific areas of the body. Unleash the power of Enerx now.
Call 1-800-456-1074 toll-free, and it will be delivered discreetly to your home. Get results using the safe, all-natural alternative, Enerx.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel. Currently in your area, 31 degrees, under partly cloudy skies. On Friday, we'll see mostly cloudy skies. Look for a chance of thunderstorms on Saturday. And on Sunday, expect fair skies.
Hey, it's time to take a look at a week's worth of weather. This is the Weekly Planner on the Weather Channel. I'm Paul Emmick. Glad you're along. There's a lot to discuss, so let's really get at it. Northwestern U.S., we got the rainfall around at times in toward around Seattle and Portland. We could see some intermittent showers during the day. Northern California getting dampened quite a bit. We'll also pick up some rainfall in towards San Francisco, eventually even Sacramento along Interstate 80. That can make for some slow going. Just want to give yourself time to reach your destination in a safe manner. But further south, we'll pick up our clouds as the system scoots ashore. Bring a few more clouds around L.A., but really not too bad of a day. Fine toward Los Angeles, in toward San Diego. Wouldn't rule out the chance in a few days of seeing some additional rain in the L.A. basin. We'll talk a bit more about that coming up in just a moment. Northeast, enjoy. That's the best way I can put it. Just say enjoy it, because it doesn't look that bad for most of Wednesday. Into Thursday, it may look okay. I mean, the sun will be around. Yeah, that's fine, but the temperatures will be taking a tumble. We're looking at cooler air on the way, so we may see some temperatures that will be cooler for Wednesday, and then even cooler into Thursday. So temperatures not quite as mild as what you enjoyed on Tuesday. So Wednesday looks cooler, and Thursday a bit cooler than that. Kind of a two-day kind of a chill down. Across the southern U.S. could get a bit stormy. Enough moisture in place, enough lift, and a little bit of instability. Could see at least a chance of some scattered storms. Probably shouldn't be much of a problem into Florida, though. No problems at all. I mean, a good time to be at the beach. How about Cocoa Beach? One of the most beautiful beaches on earth. I love it. They're a nice area around the Space Coast, even like around Melbourne, Titusville, those areas. Even toward Daytona, things look fine with beautiful weather on the way. Well, a little light snow on tap. Across the southern U.S., this doesn't look that impressive yet. Of course, the system moving on could dump some heavier amounts of rainfall latter part of the day. This just gets us through about the mid-morning, putting a chance of some rain toward Shreveport, Little Rock, and even around Memphis. As far as the Midwest goes, we talked about the problems with the freezing precip, more freezing drizzle. Don't expect major accumulation out of that, though. Across the upper Midwest, looking at the snowfall, 3 to 6 inch category there. Traverse City and Petoskey. Well, notice this, some in toward Marquette, too. As far as the western U.S. goes, there's some of the heavier snowfall here, parts of Wyoming, a bit of Utah. A little light snow to Utah's Dixie, but some heavier snow throughout Idaho. Some snow to the Sierra. Some of the northern looks a bit heavier than some of the southern part, but a bit north of the bay, we'll pick up some of the rain here in the half-inch or greater range. Beyond the latter part of the day, maybe a few scattered showers in towards Seattle, but a little wet for the northwest and might scoot a few sprinkles, at least in toward the L.A. basin a little bit later. As far as the wind, well, a little wind across the Midwest and some across parts of the Southland and upstate New York. Gulf Coast looks a bit foggy, and the fog was that low-lying cloud hovering close to the surface here. Those water droplets, when they stick to something, they land like on the roadway. You get that cold air in place, makes for a slippery situation. Here's our Wednesday morning, looking at the rainfall again for the west, the scattered problems of the wintry weather, at least the freezing precipitation across parts of Kansas. Along the Southland, too, expect to see a few showers and storms, midday hours and beyond. High pressure holds on for the Northeast and Midwest, just delivering a potent punch of very cool air. Here's precipitation coast to coast, again heaviest across parts of California. Here's a look at the warmth where we can find it, honestly where we can, into our day on Wednesday. Coming up, we'll take a look at all the active weather coast to coast and specifically its impact on travel, that is travel-wise, which comes up next after some extended forecasts for cities all across the U.S.
Are you one of the millions of American males who would like increased sexual energy? If you've been considering Viagra as a solution, consider something different. All-natural Enerx. Clinical studies show various ingredients of Enerx enhance sexual energy, increasing desire, performance, and satisfaction. Enerx is all natural with no side effects. With Enerx, you'll feel the increased energy within minutes and with no chemicals. We're so sure you and your mate will be completely satisfied. We'll offer you a 30-day, no questions asked, full refund. Enerx stimulates sexual energy by expanding the blood vessels, causing increased blood flow to specific areas of the body. Unleash the power of Enerx now.
Call 1-800-456-1074 toll-free, and it will be delivered discreetly to your home. Get results using the safe, all-natural alternative, Enerx.
You guys almost broke up at one point at the beginning of the summer, did you not?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. See, the devil card, the first card, that's a lot of arguing and power struggle. The 10 of Wands right after it, the 9 of Wands right after it. Nothing but struggle.
Yep.
You all go back and forth, back and forth. What does that make you think that this is the one you are going to spend the whole of your life with?
Right.
Learn the truth about your life with a free tarot card reading.
1-800-435-9643.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel. Currently, the temperature is 31 degrees under partly cloudy skies. forecast. On Friday, we'll see mostly cloudy skies. Look for a chance of thunderstorms on Saturday. And on Sunday, expect fair skies.
Hey, it's travel-wise time at the Weather Channel. In case you have plans to hit the roadway, we should plan to take a look at what's on the roadway ahead of us. Could be some slippery weather and moving across the plains overnight. Pacific Northwest, a few showers on the way. Eventually, Seattle could get wetter before Wednesday's over. And rainfall for Northern California. The Gulf Coast could be getting a bit stormy in spots, including New Orleans. And we'll be getting cooler. Not really a travel problem, but it is a concern if you have some outdoor commuting to do throughout the Northeast. A chillier day on tap for Wednesday, and then chillier again in the day Thursday. Here's a big picture of precip. Again, the rain on the way across the southeast, some lake effect snow. Wet in the west to San Francisco and northward around Portland. Even around the Sierra, northern and southern Sierra getting significant snow. But the freezing drizzle concerns parts of Colorado, but in Nebraska and Kansas and a portion of Oklahoma could be in for the roughest driving of all. That, of course, is our travel trouble spot. Even moving along parts of Interstate 80 in toward the Mile High City. Could see some slippery weather making that drive. Be very careful throughout our morning commute. As far as the storm potential, could deal with that across parts of Arkansas, a bit of Texas too, around Shreveport, even toward west parts of Tennessee. Might see some scattered storms for our region. Fog too toward Denver, around Houston, New Orleans, and even on toward Atlanta, Georgia, Montgomery, Alabama, and on the Gulf Coast too, like say around Biloxi, Mississippi. Toward Pensacola, Panama City, those areas as well. A little windy at times toward Detroit throughout the thumb and also into northern lower Michigan and the UP, portion of northern Wisconsin, West Virginia, parts of upstate New York.
Tennessee. Sounds good to me. Call 1-800-GO-TO-TENN. Authentic mountain music. Now playing. Tennessee. Sounds good to me. Visit online at tnvacation.com.
Order your free Tennessee vacation guide today by calling 1-800-GO-TO-TENN.
Honey, the one thing I need you to do today is open an Ameritrade account. Okay?
Yeah. You know, he is a big boy. 6'8", 293. We've got a player down on the field, number 81, Paul Norris.
Firmer thighs, abs, and glutes.
Then, during the Woodrow Wilson administration.
Oh, there's something in the back. I can hear it. I heard it again. You better go.
Hi, honey. Did you do it?
Yeah.
Open a cash account with $500 and get 25 internet equity trades commission-free in the first month. Go to Ameritrade.com. Ameritrade. It's how you get somewhere on Wall Street.
Cancer.
The doctor walked into the room and said, "You have cancer, and it's inoperable. You have only 6 months to live." So I turned to my wife and said, 33 years together is not enough. So I decided to fight, and I started looking for options. Our daughter, who is a nurse, told me about Cancer Treatment Centers of America. It's like no hospital you've ever seen. They treated me, the whole person, not just my tumor, with the latest medical technology nutrition and supplements to stimulate my immune system to fight my cancer.
To find out about alternative treatment options at our hospitals, call toll-free 1-800-234-7132.
It's been 7 years now. I beat cancer, and so can you.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America, winning the fight against cancer every day.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel. Currently, the temperature is 38 degrees under fair skies. Your forecast. Expect fair skies Saturday through Monday with temperatures in the 40s on Saturday.
Let's take a look at the traveling conditions coast to coast. Across the west, we're just a little bit wet. Midwest, same thing, some showers, maybe an occasional storm. New England, we're getting the worst of it. A lot of snowfall coming down, maybe in the Adirondacks, also in the Green Mountains. Could see a foot, maybe a foot and a half of snow from this event. Very heavy rain. Many areas will see more than an inch. A number of spots with flash flood watches and a few areas with flash flood warnings, meaning flooding is imminent in these areas. Now, most of the affected areas, you'll see the information on your screen as you watch the Weather Channel, so be prepared to get to high ground if the situation indeed warrants doing just that. Notice the rainfall. A few areas may mix a little snowfall in, too, where we are dealing with rain. Not out of the question before the day is through, say...
Greek words, meaning ball of air.
So what's the big deal about air? You can't even see it. And if you can't see it, taste it, or smell it, how do you know if it even exists? That's a good question. In the 1st century AD, a guy named Hero was wondering the same thing. He noticed that if you turn a container upside down and put it straight into water, the water can't go into the container. Why? Well, he figured it was because the container was full of air. But if you make a hole in the top, the water rushes in and the air is forced out. So there's your proof. Air really does exist. Okay, once people figured out that there really was such a thing as air, then they started trying to figure out what it was made of. Of the mix of gases that we call the atmosphere, about 4/5 is a gas called nitrogen. Nitrogen, or N2, is a very stable gas, so it doesn't react much with other atmospheric gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide. Carbon and oxygen compounds are used by plants, along with water. But nitrogen doesn't play well with others, and that's why most of the atmosphere is nitrogen. The total mass of the air in the atmosphere weighs an estimated 5.5 quadrillion metric tons. That's 55 followed by 14 zeros. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it? Guess again. That's only a millionth of the weight of our actual planet. And it's the Earth's gravity that keeps our thin little atmosphere from floating off into outer space. that I'm getting ahead of myself. And anyway, I've got to get ready to sail. So let's hook up with Jason, who's been doing a little traveling himself up into the atmosphere to talk to the experts about our sea of air. Not that line, Odell. Aye, aye, Captain.
This is NCAR, the National Center for Atmospheric Research here in the Rocky Mountains. No place better to study the atmosphere. Come on, let's go inside. Here at this mile-high site in Boulder, Colorado, the NCAR scientists gather data and make observations using satellites, weather balloons, and research aircraft. Then, they take all that information and bring it back in here and use powerful supercomputers to help them figure out what's going on up there.
Here at NCAR, the National Center for Atmospheric Research, we do a number of interesting things that have to do with weather and climate. We study the sun, we study the atmosphere itself and the motions therein, storms. We study the ocean, and we study the chemistry of the atmosphere and how all these things interact. We have to go where the weather is. For example, if we study thunderstorms, we'll go to a place like Oklahoma. If we want to study tropical squall lines, we'll go to places like the South Pacific or the tropical Atlantic or to the African continent. NCAR scientists study the weather and climate in a lot of different ways. We have aircraft, we have supercomputers, we have the High Altitude Observatory where they use a lot of data from satellites and telescopes that are in other parts of the world. The aircraft are used for a number of things. For example, we have a radar in the aircraft so we can fly close to thunderstorms and look at their interior structure. We also have instruments on the aircraft that measure the wind, temperature, moisture, turbulence, and so on. And if the storms aren't too strong, for example, over the ocean, they're not as strong as they are over land typically, we will fly through them. The atmosphere is the weather machine. The atmosphere is a mixture of gases constantly in motion. Those motions get their energy ultimately from the sun, and they take incredibly diverse forms, highs and lows that you see on the weather maps on television, hurricanes that you can see in satellites, tornadoes, thunderstorms, snowstorms. All of these things ultimately go back to the sun, how it heats up the atmosphere on Earth, and how the air moves. We need it for life. We breathe the atmosphere. Plants need the atmosphere. They take up carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. We take up oxygen from the atmosphere, and we couldn't live without it.
Don't go away. The Weather Classroom will be right back.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel. Currently in your area, 36 degrees, under fair skies. Expect fair skies Saturday through Monday with temperatures in the 40s on Saturday.
And now back to the Weather Classroom.
The atmosphere. We live at the bottom of it. We swim through it every day. We even breathe it 16 times a minute, and most of the time, we don't think about it or even know it's there. And by the way, where did it come from anyway? You'd think it's been there forever, but everything's got a beginning, and the atmosphere is no different. Our friend Dr. Jim St. John at the Georgia Institute of Technology gave us a little history lesson on our own sea of air.
Scientists generally believe that our solar system began as a large cloud of gas and dust in the Milky Way galaxy. Gravity caused this cloud to collapse upon itself. Most of the material went into the sun, and the rest became the planets. Now, when the Earth was formed, most of the heavier material became the Earth and the oceans, But there was an initial atmosphere which was composed of carbon dioxide and nitrogen. Now, when life forms first began to appear on the Earth, they began producing oxygen through photosynthesis. Now, this was originally suppressed by a reaction of oxygen with volcanic gases. However, over time, much of the material within the Earth began to oxidize, and the volcanoes began emitting less hydrogen and carbon monoxide, and this allowed the oxygen to build up to its current levels, where it exists in an equilibrium, where it is destroyed by volcanic gases, the weathering of rocks, and respiration, and is produced by photosynthesis. And it's been that way for about 2 billion years now.
Okay, now my favorite expert, Colin Marquis, is going to give us the rundown on the layers of the atmosphere. He is so smart.
Sarah, the atmosphere is actually really thin. If the Earth were the size of a beach ball, the atmosphere would only be about the thickness of a piece of paper. The lower part of the atmosphere, the lowest part of the atmosphere, is called the troposphere. And that's where all the weather that we're familiar with takes place. Temperature tends to decrease as we head upward through the troposphere. Next comes the stratosphere. And the stratosphere is where we find the protective ozone layer. Temperature increases as we head upward.
A few sprinkles here and there, a few snow.
Forecast. On Saturday, we'll have temperatures in the high 30s, under mostly cloudy skies. Expect fair skies on Sunday and Monday.
We're staying a little bit wet in the west in some locations. Plenty of clouds for Southern California. But throughout the Northeast, things will get better as we get rid of impact on travel. And travel-wise next, please stay tuned.
We're facing the possibility of yet more severe weather overnight in the plains, and the threat will move eastward as we go through the day on Monday. Good evening. Welcome to this edition of Weather Center. I'm Warren Madden.
And I'm Dave Schwartz. We'll have all the details of your back-to-work forecast in just a few minutes. But first, the severe weather, and it's multifaceted. Right in the middle of the country, we've got a merry-go-round of air swirling in toward low pressure centered over eastern Nebraska. On the north side, it's cold air. Locally, 6 more inches of snow here in the Dakotas and western Nebraska. Meanwhile, in eastern Nebraska, there is severe weather. We'll get to that on radar in just a second. Then the flooding. Heaviest rain tonight anticipated in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Some places that have already seen a lot of rain today. 3 inches of rain at Sioux Falls, or just about that, and St. Cloud, Minnesota, now almost 3 inches of rain. This is an area that is flood ravaged. Flood watches continue in effect. Then south of there, the threat for severe weather. So we've got the snow, the blowing snow, the rain, the flooding rains, the thunderstorms, all the way down to Texas. A severe thunderstorm watch is in effect till 3 o'clock in the morning Central Time. 1 o'clock in the morning, tornado watch, parts of Arkansas and Oklahoma, and a severe thunderstorm watch is in effect for you in the Dallas metro area and down I-35 toward Austin until midnight Central Daylight Time. There is our storm, and it is a doozy. Let's start from north to south. We'll work from the flooding rains and snow down to a line of thunderstorms right along that front, all the way down to the Texas and Mexico border. And you'll notice an increase in intensity here in Texas. I think we're going to see thunderstorms get worse as the night wears on in the Lone Star State. North of the warm front, it is all rain and lots of it here too. And look at the snow, will you? Unbelievable. Especially near the upper level low right in here back into South Dakota. Rapid City, South Dakota picks up 20 inches of snow today. That's blasts away the old record. Unbelievable. We've had 66 inches of snow in Rapid City this winter/spring. A third of it comes today on April the 22nd. And it's still snowing out here. Watch the travel from Hibbing, Minnesota, all the way back to Chadron, Nebraska. Then we work our way into eastern Nebraska, where Burt County residents are being warned for this thunderstorm right there, northwest of Omaha, racing northeastward through Burt County. That will miss Sioux City. At least the damaging wind should miss Sioux City. But still, we're going to get in on a thunder shower about a half an hour from now. Here in Des Moines, all quiet on the southern front, at least south of the frontal boundary. All the action is further to our north and west at the present time. Speaking of north and west, it's north and west of Little Rock. We've got some thunderstorms pressing into the Ozark Plateau. East of Tulsa now, that's where the action is. Drier air is moving across Oklahoma at the present time. And here in Dallas-Fort Worth, nothing severe, but with an upper-level storm, upper-level piece of energy rotating around the bottom of a trough in the west, we'll see these thunderstorms most likely intensify. And they haven't gotten to the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area yet. At least this round hasn't. So we could see another round of severe thunderstorms tonight. It was pretty rough earlier today. Winds were gusting, trees were down, power lines were down. Very stormy here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and our severe thunderstorm watch remains in effect tonight until midnight local time. Then the drier air will work in on southwesterly winds, and that will be that. Tomorrow's weather looks just great. There's your drier air in Amarillo, 25 dew point. Moist air here in Dallas, 65 dew point. Dry line, then a cold front. Once the two of those move through, you're in the clear. All these thunderstorms will be heading east tomorrow. We'll show you where in the forecast, but first, let's head west. Here's Warren.
Let's head into the western United States now. And what we're seeing here is quieter conditions across the southwest compared to what we saw over the past couple of days as the storm system that's moved into the plains today left you behind. Now, we do have another little system bumping into the northwest, a few showers around, but no big problems for you. Let's show you the radar satellite perspective. And compared to the unsettled conditions we saw over the last couple of days into the southwest, a much quieter day today. You can see lots of clear skies out there right now. One thing that this storm system did bring, though, was perhaps an extension to the ski season. Yeah, this is Big Bear, California. I was up in this area myself just about last month, and a spring snowstorm surprising local ski operators in the mountains of Southern California. Most had planned to be closed after Easter, but just to the west of here of Big Bear, Mount Baldy got close to 18 inches of new powder snow this weekend. Another 3 to 7 inches falling in other areas here around Los Angeles and in the San Bernardino Mountains. In the basin, we saw some showers that made the road slick, but no big problems otherwise. That's all gone out to the east now, but still looked like everyone was having a great time with that late season skiing. We're seeing a little snow into the Cascades, snow below pass level, so watch out about 3,500 feet, but it will be rising to 4,500 feet overnight into the day tomorrow. A few scattered showers here up around Oak Harbor and heading over toward Hoquiam. We head down into the area around Portland. Troutdale is reporting a few showers heading over toward Pendleton. And we'll see this continuing perhaps overnight, maybe 1/10 of an inch of rain west of the Cascades and maybe 1 to 3 inches of snow as we head up into the Cascades themselves. Farther east, we do run into a little snow continuing here across Wyoming into northern Colorado, and watch out with the winds very blustery. Still could see some blowing and drifting of that snowfall through the next 6 to 12 hours. Our temperatures today were a little on the cooler side here. Only made it up to 69 in Los Angeles, 70 in Phoenix. That's a good 14 degrees below your average temperature for this time of the year. But we look into the current temperatures, looking at 61 in San Diego, 59 in Los Angeles, and tomorrow we'll be getting back to more average conditions as we punch back up to the 80s in Phoenix. But watch out, still some showers for your Monday commute in Seattle and Portland. Time to head to the east now with Dave.
And thanks, Warren, and I'll tell you, you showed us how cold it was in the west. I'll show you how warm it was in the east. Look at this today, huh? 86 degrees in New York City. That was 12 degrees warmer than it was on the Strip in Vegas today. That's something. Westerly winds coming down off the Appalachian Mountains warmed us up. Both New York and Boston hit mid-80s. Can you handle that? Huh? It's not going to last. A cold front's heading southward right now. That'll cool us off a little bit tomorrow. No great shakes. But we're going back to work tomorrow, so who cares? But today, beautiful out there at New York City. Milton, Mass., just on the southwest side of Boston, where the National Weather Service office is. There's our cold front coming southward. That'll wash out tomorrow, but it'll turn a little bit cooler as our winds come out of the north and northeast, right down Long Island Sound. Southeast, more of the same. High pressure sitting in the summertime position off the east coast, pumping in warm and increasingly humid air into the Mississippi River Valley. So we're likely to see more thunderstorms develop here tomorrow as the storm from the plains heads east. That's the focal point of our Monday forecast. Warren Madden's got it for you right now.
Well, let's go to that forecast now. We'll start it off here for the morning, and we will be watching for the threat of severe weather perhaps along this cold front as we move through the day on Monday. So please stay with us here at the Weather Channel.
And victims of weekend tornadoes continue to pick up the pieces of their lives. Now, coming up, a closer look at how they are coping and what cities were hit the hardest. But now here's a quick look at Tuesday's forecast. Look for morning showers in the northeast with warm temperatures in the mid-Atlantic. Scattered strong storms will hit the Mississippi Valley with more rain and winds in the Midwest. Good evening and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Kim Perez along with Paul Goodloe.
Thanks for joining us this evening. Let's first begin in the Midwest. We're still dealing with very gusty winds tonight. And even some areas getting some rain. Not nearly as much rain as other areas of the Midwest picked up last night into this morning. Again, a lot of the areas had severe thunderstorms. We had tornado watches up for much of the morning and much of the early afternoon. Those are all expired. In fact, we had a severe thunderstorm watch up that did include the Detroit area. That just expired about a half hour ago. But it doesn't mean that everything has quieted down. We're still seeing lots of showers and thunderstorms stretch from the Great Lakes here into the Ohio Valley, into parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, and into the southeast. Kim will talk about the severe threat going on right now in parts of Texas coming up. But first, we'll start here in parts of the Great Lakes. We're on the backside of the storm system. Had some light snow now heading across parts of northern Wisconsin. Could even see a few wet flakes mixed in parts of the UP of Michigan. But the heavy snow fell last night. We're not expecting any major snow from this storm system left here in the lower 48. As we head on towards Detroit, another line of thunderstorms, still trying to hold together, still trying to head on through Ann Arbor, eventually through Detroit over the next hour. Toledo, same thing for you, another line of showers. Looks like it's weakening, but we can't rule it out until it's past us. And even then, we'll still have some very windy conditions even into tomorrow. A little bit further on towards the south, we're seeing another line of thunderstorms just now push on through the Circle City here, and more rain is still coming down in Dayton as well as Cincinnati, Ohio, and parts of northern Kentucky still seeing some rain showers and thunderstorms as well. Now, again, we can see because of the fast-moving nature of these storms, maybe a tenth to a quarter of an inch of rain, not a heavy rain maker like the heavy rains we picked up this morning in parts of Iowa. Take a look at this video. This is incredible. We're talking about residents here in Davenport, Iowa, near the mighty Mississippi, are still holding their breath tonight. You're looking at scenes from Davenport, Iowa. So far, makeshift dikes are holding here, but the immediate problem is water coming into the city through the storm drains designed to remove the water. The Mississippi has still not begun to recede yet, hasn't quite crested yet in Davenport. Also talked about the winds gusting to 30 in Detroit right now. But even behind that front, the front is past you, we're still feeling wind gusts of 31 miles per hour here in Chicago.
33 in Grand Rapids. So again, the wind still a problem into tomorrow morning, especially in the eastern Great Lakes region. Your high temperatures, one of the reasons why we're still seeing the strong thunderstorms and earlier saw the severe weather. 80s in Indianapolis, Cincy, and Detroit, 70s in Chicago and Green Bay, almost 70 in Marquette. Behind it, that cooler air, highs today in the 40s and 50s, clash of the air masses. Now tomorrow, high pressure moving back in, lots of sunshine for you. Strong April sun will warm up almost everyone into the 60s, pushing 70 in the Omaha region, but the wind's still a problem for at least the first half of the day in parts of Michigan and even in parts of Cleveland and Pittsburgh throughout the day on Tuesday. That wraps up the Midwest here. Now this front, as I mentioned, stretches into the southeast and Texas, giving severe weather there. Right, Kim?
That's right, Paul. And actually, we have a couple of warnings out. Jim Wells and Duval County here in South Texas under warnings right now. We'll take a closer look in just a minute. But again, this front does extend in the south, but we'll talk about its impact in the northeast here coming up in just a minute. But overall, most of us had a great day today. Hot. Oh, it was nice and sunny and a bit humid, though, I think, for some of us, getting a little bit more humid if dew points really came up, and I'll show you those in just a sec. But look at this front right in here. Right along the front is where we're seeing most of the heavy rain. That's where the air is converging right along the front. So that's where we're seeing most of that heavy rain. And this part of the front is not moving very quickly, so we've had some very heavy rain out there, too. Out ahead of it, look at these temperatures in the 80s. But actually, as you'll see, these temperatures were not as warm as they were in the northeast. Believe it or not, we had warmer temperatures in the northeast than we did here in the southeast. Part of it could have been because of, well, the dew points have really come up. The higher moisture content, the harder it is to warm up that air. So actually here in Birmingham, 61 for a dew point. That has come up a couple of degrees, and we'll continue to see that as our front comes through. The dew points will increase, and then once the front goes through, the humidity or the dew points will start to drop as well. So we're only at 37 here in Oklahoma City, so really feeling the drier air out there right now. But look at Houston, 71 here. It is very humid out here tonight. Showers and thunderstorms out there. Right along our front, we had some heavier rain out there as well. Even some rain heading towards Nashville. Earlier, some warnings off to your west. Those have been allowed to expire. But around Houston, this just continues. Look at this one has developed. Another thunderstorm has developed here. So, yeah, watch out for maybe some gusty winds and some small hail, and, of course, some heavy rain. San Antonio, we've had our fair share of heavy rain. Good news, most of that heavy rain has slipped off to your south and east. So still, I'm sure we're dealing with some flooding problems where earlier, wow, look at this. Folks, pay attention to this. Torrential rains this morning in San Antonio, Texas, resulted in some serious street flooding. Several people who tried to drive across flooded roads found themselves stuck in the fast-moving water. Now, it was a dangerous situation for a while, but officials say no one was injured. But that's why we always tell you, don't cross a road that's flooded, because you just don't know how deep that water is. If you're not familiar with the road, of course, it's even worse. Now, we're going to see an additional inch or so out of this evening. So, yes, maybe some isolated flooding problems here in East Texas. And by tomorrow, our front moves to the East Coast. 71 here in Atlanta. Maybe a few thunderstorms possible during the day tomorrow, which we could use the rain. New Orleans, thunderstorm 75. Orlando, 87. Your forecast tomorrow. No rain tomorrow. It is going to be dry, dry, dry. Wednesday, we think you have a chance of rain. So maybe if you're heading to Florida, do go to Disney World tomorrow. Tomorrow might be the best day. Wednesday, there's a chance of some rainfall. Now, in the Northeast, again, hot. Clouds coming in here ahead of our front. We have really warmed up. 88 in Philadelphia. That didn't break your record, but we broke a record in Washington, D.C., actually at Dulles, I believe at 87 degrees today. And Syracuse broke a record as well. So very mild temperatures. Charleston, your high was 90 degrees today. Tomorrow won't be as warm as clouds will come in and rain will come in as well, and a chance for a few thunderstorms. But by the evening commute, most of that rain should be over with. So that takes care of this storm system. Now let's go to the west with Paul and find out if there's any storms headed their way. Paul?
Well, here in the Pacific Northwest, we're dealing with some scattered rain showers out here. Things are quieting down right now, but high pressure in control of the rest of the Southwest, warming you up, also giving you an offshore flow. Again, high pressure in this region, clockwise flow and offshore flow. That's going to warm you up here in parts of Southern California. In fact, it did today. 83 for your high in L.A., 74 in San Diego. That is a warm day for San Diego. But a mild day in Vegas and not too hot in Phoenix yet. Just wait till tomorrow, though. But the Pacific Northwest, a cooler day, 60 in Portland, 59 in Seattle. It'll be warmer tomorrow. But you know what? We could use some rain here in the Pacific Northwest because we have the haves and the have-nots. Usually it's switched around. You think of L.A. and Phoenix, dry areas. while Seattle and Portland, the wet areas. Not so far this year, this rainy season, I should say. We're talking about 4 and 3 inches above in our rainfall here, nearly a foot behind here in Seattle and Portland. And again, we need this to help generate more power. Hydroelectric power plants here in the Pacific Northwest really can't crank out that much more power, and we need more power for cities like LA. Take a look at your forecast tomorrow. This is a big reason why we need that power. Plenty of sunshine. We are warming up. It's going to be a hot day in the Southland, 85 for your high, but yeah, definitely some of the interior valleys easily into the 90s. That means ACs cranking on all day long. It's going to stay with you, the warm air, the offshore flow for the next couple of days as well. So it's going to be heating up, especially here in the Southwest. We'll be toasting the 100s in a couple of days here in the Valley of the Sun. That wraps up the current conditions. With more on weather news, here's Kim.
Now let's turn to Meade, Nebraska, and some rare footage of a funnel cloud caught on tape. Yesterday evening, a tornado dropped from the clouds, injuring one man. Now, this video was taken by a photographer for an Omaha television station. The twister was only on the ground for a few seconds before dissipating. The storm was moving at about 60 miles per hour. All right. Let's take a look here and see where we have severe weather awareness week going on. And we've been showing you this off and on for the last couple of months. Starting out, most of the South has already had their severe weather awareness. But as time goes on, as our jet stream moves farther to the north, our severe weather actually generally moves up to the north too. So by June, we're typically looking at more severe weather across the northern plains and northern states. So here's our severe weather awareness we have here in Colorado. We have Washington, D.C., and here in Maryland as well, awareness going on this week, which means, hey, we're going to conduct different activities, trying to get folks, you know, ready in case severe weather moves in. So public safety agencies, schools will all be conducting tests. Topics to be covered, of course, floods, hail, tornadoes, lightning, and thunderstorms. Now, I'll show you your forecast for tomorrow. And the good news is, as the front moves east, it does weaken somewhat. The upper level dynamics, you know, all the strength with this storm actually moves up into Canada. So our severe weather threat not as high tomorrow as our front moves off to the east. Now, we're not going to rule out maybe a severe storm or two, but nothing organized. So here's our front, the southeast, looking at some rain. Again, with all that humidity, all that moisture out there, we could pick up a pretty good amount. Hopefully we'll pick up a good amount anyway. Our front moves slowly here in the southeast, finally off the coast of the northeast. High pressure building in behind it. The winds should die down here around Chicago tomorrow. And it is going to be very hot here in the desert southwest. No rain in sight for you folks either. A little bit of rain in the Pacific Northwest, but the heaviest rain will be here in the south.
Prolonged in your area, but it's not a wide area that the rain showers with the front are covering. In Houston, you're likely to see more than many more of us to the south, because that's where the frontal boundary is kind of stalling out at, not even moving a little bit. Chicago, it's currently 47 degrees. It was a little warmer there today. And while we were seeing thunderstorms out towards Detroit, well, we had snow falling up around Duluth. We'll talk more about that with Warren Madden. But a quick check on these temperatures right now in San Diego. It's 71 degrees. This is the big picture. Let's go now to Warren for more.
Okay, let's head on up into the Midwest, where we certainly have seen some very stormy weather here over the last few days. In fact, today there were severe weather reports stretching from Iowa up through Wisconsin. This was actually behind the front. What we saw was the air was just so unstable. The air at the upper levels of the atmosphere so cold that we saw a very unstable weather situation, and we actually had reports of hail and wind damage stretching from northeastern Iowa up across Wisconsin toward the UP of Michigan. Right now, the front actually right on top of Detroit and should be pushing through here over the next several hours. Now, fortunately, the severe weather has calmed down here across the Midwest. We'll take a look at the radar picture across the region now, and we'll show you that what we've got out there is, again, some showers. Detroit, the severe thunderstorm watch done, no problems here. But as we head farther south, heading through western Ohio around Dayton, on in toward Louisville, and on in toward Nashville, we still have some showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder, but we're not anticipating any big problems in terms of severe weather here overnight. Now, we've had a lot of problems with all this rain coming down in terms of flooding, and that continues here along some of the rivers. Getting ready, we're labeling it. Those of you along the Mississippi River continue to play a waiting game with the floodwaters. Residents in Grafton, Illinois, as we head down to the central Mississippi Valley, spent their weekend moving their belongings to higher ground. Everyone hoping the sandbagging efforts will pay off and keep the river from overflowing its banks. The Mississippi expected to crest in Grafton this coming Saturday at about 6.5 feet above flood stage. Now, we do have some good news for you as we head into the forecast, is that things look to be a lot drier here into the midsection of the nation over the next several days. We'll have more on that coming up into the weekly planner at about 10 minutes after the hour. A trip now over into the northeastern U.S. where you enjoyed another very warm day, especially here into the mid-Atlantic. Boston, you were a little cooler today than you saw yesterday, but still very, very warm, especially for this time of the year. Let's look at our current temperatures right now, and we're looking at about 60 here into our New York City, still 72 into Washington, D.C. Boston, you've cooled down to about 58, but all through the northeast region, we saw numerous record highs today. Let's look at some of those, and we start them off into Charleston, West Virginia, where you hit 90 degrees. That tied your record high for the day. Washington at Dulles setting a record high at 88, along with Syracuse and Elkins, Scranton, Pennsylvania, and heading down toward Bluefield and Blacksburg, Virginia, and West Virginia, seeing some ties. Well, let's look at what's happening here across the eastern U.S. Let's head into the western U.S. now as we turn it back to Lisa.
Okay, thank you, Warren. Well, we've been looking at conditions that have been a story of the haves and the have-nots, while many of us across the Pacific Northwest have had pretty much a dry winter. Yes, we've had some wet weather to come in, but it's not what we're used to. We're actually looking at a deficit between Seattle and Portland, Oregon, around 3 to 4 inches, but it was a very wet winter weather pattern for Los Angeles and San Diego, where we are actually seeing a surplus. Now, the temperatures are going to be warming up. One reason, well, because it is late in the season, we're headed towards summer, the big ridge out to the west is going to set in. And this is going to allow for any system coming our way, anything building out towards the Pacific will be heading a little further north of you. And this means British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, Canada, you'll be looking at the wet weather as it does come in this week. And we will warm up, and I do mean warm up we will. We're looking at the forecast here, and as you can see, we are looking at high pressure not only across much of the west, but even the midsection of the country, so we will get into a bit of a zonal flow. Our frontal boundaries slowly edge into the eastern seaboard. Of course, out towards the Florida area, we are hoping that this frontal boundary will take forever to move out, because the longer it takes, the more likely we'll see rain showers with some significant rain. And since we are still in a very dry state across parts of southern Georgia, the Florida area, even parts of southern Alabama, we can use all the rain that we can get. Things will cool down quite a bit across the northeast. As you may recall, the past couple of days, we have been flirting with temperatures around 80, 81, 82 degrees. New York, yes, D.C., even Buffalo, very, very warm today. We'll cool off a little bit. Now, tomorrow, look for a chance of some thunderstorms, mainly in the afternoon, but we will be cloudy across much of the northeast during the entire day. We'll look for the afternoon high temperature around Boston of 78, Philadelphia a little warmer in the low to mid 80s. Now, as you do head out, keep in mind that some of the thunderstorms may be strong to severe. Even in the northeastern areas, we could be looking at some strong to severe weather. Here in the southeast, same old story. Even though the dynamics are not supporting this system like they were when this was crossing through the mid-Mississippi Valley area, it's still a dangerous situation because of the lightning. Do keep that in mind. The afternoon high temperature in Atlanta, Georgia, 71. A chance of thunderstorms throughout the day, and it will be a muggy day on the front side of this system, the frontal boundary in the warm sector. On the back side, however, a very pleasant day, much drier too. Mississippi, we are looking at temperatures that will be topping out in the 60s and 70s. Memphis, Tennessee, looking for mostly sunny skies and a very dry condition. 66 for that afternoon high temperature. It will be very comfortable. Now out towards the Chicago area, we are going to rebound because, hey, that high sun angle late in the season here doesn't take long, and even snow melts quickly this time.